Let's do a quick 5 minutes in a Frappuccino with this one.
So critical thinking is like a mental toolkit that helps you to better see and understand the world around you. It's the skill of thoughtfully examining information, ideas, issues, topics, or situations. It involves looking beyond the surface, asking probing questions, and evaluating information instead of just accepting things as they are seen or presented.
So first of all, I want to say thank you. This is some good content. And before we get started, my goal is not to slap anybody on the hand about not thinking well. That's not my goal. My goal is simply to add a drop of clarity to the ocean of human thought, or at least to make the attempt. So I know that there are going to be some things that I do say in videos that people don't agree with, and that's okay. I think we should address this. So that video right there, she is saying some really good stuff. She's got great content on critical thinking, and she's doing her best to add that drop of clarity too. So what I really want to talk about is what happened in her comment. One of the things that we have to remember, if we want to be really good, strong sense thinkers, is that there are some intellectual traits and standards that come along with critical thinking, okay? So some of those traits are things that are very, very helpful, or some of the standards are things that are very helpful, like clarity. Like, why are you talking to somebody if what you're saying isn't clear? Because if you're going to have good communication, you have to have clarity. Things need to be accurate. They need to be precise. I wrote about all these things in my book, Rethinking Thinking. One of those traits and one of those standards is fair-mindedness, right? So if we want to be really good thinkers, we have to be fair-minded. So, for example, let's just look at the comments. Here's one. Okay, so this comment is an opinion, and that's fine. You know, instead of trying to bash each other for our opinions, maybe we should try to understand each other, to give a little validation to what people are saying, because if we can find just a kernel of truth, then that means there's something worthwhile in the comment. So, and maybe in some you can't, but in this one you definitely can find a kernel of truth. One of the ways to develop your critical thinking skills is to communicate with other people. Now, I would have to ask some questions because I need some clarity on the paying attention to your resonances. I would need some clarity on that. I would love to talk about that if the author of the comment wants to reach out. For the most part, that whole piece about not having to read, you don't need books, it's an opinion, and that's okay. People have their opinions based on their backstory, right? So we have to understand that first. Secondly, so to say terrible advice, an amazing example of non-critical thinking, you know, when I first got involved in the framework that I share, I heard someone from the Critical Thinking Foundation say, if I've ever been wrong, I could be wrong now. And two, there are otherwise intelligent people who think exactly opposite me. And those two things go hand in hand with another intellectual trait called intellectual humility. So if we want to be really good thinkers and we want to grow and practice our critical thinking skills, then fair-mindedness is key, having intellectual humility, and just making sure that we are also valuing other human beings and their thoughts. Because a lot of times, just because someone disagrees with us, that doesn't mean that they're wrong. And if their opinion isn't exactly like ours, it doesn't mean that they should be dismissed. So that's all I wanted to say on this one. And I would really love to hear what you think. So drop it down in the comments. Let's have some dialogue about it.